What's up, Explosion Army? Are you trying to play this ass weapon on this ass stage? Well, let me show you how to do that. This is probably the best Explosion map in the game, so this is going to be a guide for V-Explo only. This is also going to be a zones only guide. So if you're worried about the other modes, you want to know how to play those on this map, that will be in another video. But I'm just going to cover good positions, I'm going to cover retake positions, and I'm going to cover what you should be doing throughout the match. So let's start with the starting positions. Starting position should probably be right about here. So why is this a good position to start with? If you step onto this box right here, you can shoot over that and you can hit every single part of the zone from this magical little position. Now, when you start here, you got to worry about stampers, range blasters, S-blast. They're going to want to get under this ledge and start poking you. People are going to approach from here, throw bombs at you. Now, it's your prerogative early on to set up some defensive paint. So let's say someone throws a bomb here, you're going to go position right here. If this spot gets too hot, which it often will, people are going to throw strikes at you. They're going to throw booyah bombs. They're going to even get up on here. You know, stringer players, leaders, chargers, you name it. They're going to all be up there and throw things at you. At that point, you have another position you can scooch over to. So you're going to set up over here. You have cover there. Now, you can paint this side. You can get your storm. Now, if they're set up in the middle, you throw your storm at it, move them off. At that point, if it feels safe to, you can reposition over here as they move, try to pursue them, so on and so forth. Now, Scorch Gorge on retake is not really the best for explo, but you have a couple different options. So you have the right option here. A lot of times people will set up over there. If they're pushed this far in, you don't really have too much of a choice. You're going to want to set up over here. If they're pushed up by the balloon, you have a pretty solid shot here. You can hit most things here. You do have to watch out for bombs, of course, strikes, that sort of thing. Or if they're coming up the ramp, this is probably the better position. If you're able to, you know, you can move up. But this isn't great because you can get hit from below and it's just not amazing. So if for some reason you are able to move up, this is the next retake position. If you push them out, sometimes they like to hang out over here. So in this case, your front line should be dealing with this one here because typically you'll want your front lines to push out there and you'll be over here. So if you went left instead, so this is another retake position here. This one isn't as great, but it can work in certain cases if they're pushed back over here. If they're in your base but not pushed up all the way to your spawn, you have this. Now, this is also not a great position at times because they will throw bombs at you, strikes, crab tank, whatever. Like, they'll set up here and just put a lot of pressure on you. Now, this is where Storm comes in handy. If you want them out of this spot, Storm covers this almost perfectly. Like, it's going to cover that whole area. So that's one way you can use your storm. Another way you can use your storm is throwing it down the middle here, but the problem with this is the storm will go down the middle, push them out there, they're just going to hide here. So one thing to think about when you're using storm is not so much like what area you're clearing out to, but what area are they going to vacate to. The reason I like using storm in locations like this is they have two options. Either they abort and jump off and go back to mid, or they're going to push through the storm and go here. At this point, they're weakened. They're a one-shot for you. If you can land that shot, you're going to pepper them a couple times. They're going to die pretty easily if they come through. So a lot of times it makes more sense for them to just leave and go back to the zone. Because, I mean, it doesn't make sense to swim through the storm and contest you there unless they have everyone else with them. So storm, that's how I would use it here. And so you're looking at that left spot, you're looking at this middle spot if you really, really need it, but I personally don't like it. And you have throwing it right here in the middle. Now, if you really want to get your team in, one of the things I like to do is just kind of, if I can, I'll throw the storm here. Say there's somebody up there. I'm going to throw a storm to the middle. And as soon as they're off, I'm trying to paint around the zone too. So what I like to do is not just paint the zone itself. I know I indicated that you can do that, which is amazing. That's what explo. This is one of the best explo maps for that. But painting around, you can also like see how much paint control I have just from this position. I can paint a lot of spots around the zone. You can see how far this actually reaches. And if I get up on the box, you know, here, here, here. Another thing you should do is paint these walls. And notice how I can hit that wall from this angle here too. That makes it easier for your teammates to fight. So if you're here and they're fighting and doing their job and they get a wipeout situation, I know it seems advantageous to do this because a lot of people would jump down and get up here, which in most like scenarios, a backline being here is a good thing. The problem wherein this lies is you don't have an easy way back in case you're pushed out, right? So now if you had a beacon set up over here, now it would make sense to just pop open your map, select the beacon, and boom, you're right there. But in a lot of cases, if they start retaking, let's say they set up the crab tank or throw strikes, you're going over here and you're slowly walking back to your position, or you're going to fight it out. And if you want to fight it out, well, let's say for whatever reason you're kicked off this, and you want to fight it out, you can try to like retreat as you fight backwards. That's an option. But if you're ever down in here, especially with EXPLO, this is a problem because you are not in your element when you're down here. This is not your place to be. You're gonna get destroyed. You can maybe throw some sensors or something, but it's not easy. So like in some Scorch maps, you know how they have the grates that go from here to the base. That doesn't exist here. So you really have this one way back. It's kind of bad map design. So this is part of the reason why I don't suggest moving forward to the tower, or whatever you want to call this mid pillar here. Because oftentimes the charger is going to set up over there, leader, and you can hit them, but likely because of the position, right? If you're here, you're not safe. They can pop you. If you're here, they can still pop you. If there was cover, like say here, it would be a safe position, but I personally don't like this because a lot of times they'll just go over there or they'll go over here where I'm shooting, and they're going to take you out right away. Now, from here, I mean, you have some options. You can throw a storm there, you can throw it there, you can throw it there, but a lot of times I think they're not effective uses of storm. I think good places to use storm would be places that cover all of this position. So like throwing it across here, you can see the coverage. Look at this. You're covering the whole zone. You're covering the middle. This is a good use of storm. You get max mileage out of that. Amazing. You can use it to move a sniper who's being particularly annoying, but a lot of times what happens is they just kind of scoot to the edge of it and then they set right back up again. So unless your teammates move in with it and try to capitalize on that, they're just going to set up again. So it's really up to you how you want to do it. Depending on the situation, it might be a good idea, but I don't like to frame everything as a one-size-fits-all approach. Storm is one of those things that you can use offensively, you can use it defensively, but depending on the context, one could be better than the other. So that's more or less how I like to set this up. Now, sometimes you'll see people in the bunker. Your teammates might be fighting people there. There might also be beacons from the enemy team over in these bunkers as well, so it's your job to pop open the map, see if they've got any set up here or here, and do your best to get rid of them. But generally speaking, if there is a wipeout situation, I prefer to stay right here because I'm the zone guard. I'm going to use this extra time to set up everything around the map, and you can see how much I've covered already. But when it comes to your teammates dying, think about it this way. You're also a super jump spot. If they spawn here, you're right there on the zone, so they can jump to you and get right back into the mix. Now, if you're here, they can also do that, but what's going to happen is you're just going to get pushed out eventually. I mean, it's really hard to stay here, is my problem with it. And a lot of times what has happened is when I start to push with the teammates, you know, of course, this is how you would do it. You go across the grates, you're going to throw some paint down. A lot of what you can do is pretty effective here. Throwing shots over the wall. My issue with this is explo is just really slow. It doesn't have a lot of run speed. Now, if for whatever reason they start pushing you, getting back here is not great. Now, if you had splashdown, you're using custom EXPLOSHER, you do have more tools. If they drop beneath you, you can just splash down. So, I mean, it's a completely different play with that weapon, but we are talking about the explo here, so the options are a little different. Now, pushing into the base here, okay, we're looking at zero cover there, and, sorry, I fell down. pushing into the base, you're looking at 0 cover right here. So at this point, I mean, this isn't amazing. If you have a splatling or a sniper there, they're probably going to kill you. But if you manage to get here and you really want to put some pressure on them, that's one place you can throw the storm. Just like how I mentioned you could throw it this way to push them out of the base, you can throw it here to move them off of snipe. And you can see that storm's putting in work. It's covering the whole area. Now, if you do get over here, and this is a pretty good position to be honest, this can be good. If you feel like your team is very confident about winning their fights, you know, you've got options. You can hit here, you can hit behind that box. These are good spots. I have taken these before, not necessarily on zones, because in zones I don't like to play this aggressively. But on a map like, or on tower, or maybe, you know, clan blitz, I will do something like this. But there's no reason for you to ever be this far up, honestly. I would say as far as you want to go is about here. Leave yourself an out if you need it. And your out is not going to be the greats, because it's just not a... You can see how awkward it is getting there. So if for whatever reason you need to jump out, either you're probably jumping back to base, or if someone's still in the zone, you jump to them. And that's about it. So again, very, very situational. If you're going for the knockout, then yeah, it makes more sense to push up here. But oftentimes I'm not looking for the knockout on zones. I'm very accustomed to most matches like having a little bit of back and forth, and that's just kind of how the mode's designed. So I've found my best success just kind of staying here, being the jump spot, tending the zone, because you have complete and utter control of the objective. The issue with moving far ahead is like you lose all of that. This is a pretty safe position, but when you move up, you're jeopardizing a lot of what you've done to set up in order to go for a knockout, which seems unnecessarily risky. But if you know how to play this position, you really don't need to move that far up. And I guess that's kind of like where I stand with this map. I consider this to be probably the best EXPLOSHER map, just for that reason. And again, from here, you can hit a lot of spots too. So you do have some good coverage here. Again, just shoot the walls. Treat every wall as something that's going to help your teammates win their fights later on. That's all just like, you know, think of it as an investment. Just money in the bank, man, that's going to pay dividends later. So setting up, big thing with the explo. Take that extra time if they get a couple down just to set up a little bit. And that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed.